growing up Mormon, it was definitely my sexuality.
Yeah.
So I wasn't comfortable, and I was just like, everybody's saying it's wrong, to be
Yeah.
a certain way. Um, I realized it wasn't like so much that it's like I used to think that Mormons hate gay people. And
Yeah.
so I felt like if I were to like I couldn't hide it. Like I couldn't hide who I was. Like it's in the way I walk, the way I
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
It's very like feminine and um like back then it was even more like way more so I just felt like I was really trying like really hard not let my like sexuality take over, and I wanted to like be a good Mormon youth. Like this was in
Yeah.
my youth,
Yeah.
and like it was just it was. I felt like I was going to church, and people were just telling me I'm going to hell. Like that's just like
Yeah.
where it got because that was the thing I was struggling with. I just it was like made a big deal. Nowadays, I feel like it's not that huge of a deal, like amongst like Mormons, but I felt like there was a lot of pressure back then when I was a youth. So,
How early did you realize, like, growing up as a kid, like, did you realize your feelings? How early?
I mean, like how early did you realize you liked women?
Yeah, that's
I
true.
feel like it's just the same thing. Like you just grow
Yeah.
up, you like what you like, you
Yeah.
just, it's not like, oh, it was August 8th, 2006. I
Yeah.
just felt
Yeah.
like it's just a natural thing. And
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
fighting it anymore. I'm not
No,
like
God,
fighting against it anymore. So
that sounds good. I'm happy.
thank you. But yeah, that was the thing that I struggled with the most in church.
Yeah.
But I tried to explain it like I used to explain it like this because I was like starting to open up about
Mm-hmm.
my sexuality and
Yeah.
being Mormon. And I was like trying to explain it. I'm like, oh, my parents wanted me to be a football player,
Yeah.
and I ended up dancing. But they didn't stop loving me, and I was like
Yeah.
telling people, I'm like, oh yeah, Mormons, they don't hate you, like they don't hate you. Like I felt like I was like trying to defend Mormons while also like cutting off a piece of who I was.
Got you. Got you. Yeah.
So I just wanted to stop like defending like so this is what I believe, this is what you believe, like this
Yeah.
is what I like, that's what you like. It's a
It was. I feel like it was like a. I could just understand like it's like an inner conflict because like you grew up teaching that you grew up in the Mormon church and that and they kind of like taught you this is you believed in being Mormon, but at the same time like you believe in being yourself.
very true, yeah.
So there's like two different beliefs that kind of contradict each other, and
Mhm.
you're just fighting that. Like I want to be a good Mormon person because my family is Mormon, but at the same time, like you realize, look, this is who I am.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's why like I fought back during my when they were trying to send me on a mission,
Yeah,
because I just got to the point where I'm like, no, I'm not going to. I wasn't like fully out like around that time. It's just that I just didn't want to. That was just the first time I fought back, and
yeah, yeah,
I felt like, okay, well, I made it through that. Like, you know, what's next? So,
yeah,
but luckily, like, there wasn't like much. There wasn't much to fight.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's pretty.
yeah. So, did you how was it like when you did you how was it when you came out and did you ever come out and tell your family? How was that?
It was for okay. So the first person in my family I came out to was my sister.
Yeah,
And so me and my friend who lived around the block, we both came out to each other, and like we had another friend and he was gay too, and we're just like,
yeah,
what? Like for real? Like how did we all just found each other, and then so after like coming out from that, I'm like, I think I'm gonna tell my sister, or I think I'm gonna tell my siblings.
Yeah.
That was the plan, and then I went on a jog around with my sister, like a walk around the block,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh my gosh, my friend, she got kicked out of her house because she's a lesbian, and my sister's like, oh, and I'm like, so what do you think of that? You know, I was just like trying to see what she thought about it. And she's like, well, I would still love her. I was like, you know, I just started crying. I just like
Yeah.
bawled, and I was like, I'm bisexual. I was gay, but you know, like
Yeah.
trying to like ease the like
Ease it in.
I was like, I'm bisexual. And my sister, she's like, oh, I always wanted a little sister. And she like hugged me. And, you know, I felt really great after that.
Yeah.
After this the same night, I went to go like to my brother and he was working out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, my friend got kicked out because she's a lesbian. And
Yeah.
my brother goes, good. You know, he was like, I was like, okay. And I knew that wasn't his, like, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to receive the news. So I went inside. But he wasn't ready then, but eventually he me okay. So me and my group of friends, we were all Tongan. And
Yeah.
this was like I was 23, 24, and we all just
Mhm.
they lived at like we started driving 2 hours away just to hang out because there's not a lot of Polynesians.
Yeah.
And so the guys, you know, all the guys and girls, we're all just hanging out at my parents' house, and we're all just the guys are gonna go get food.
Yeah.
Um, hold on. Before I tell that story,
Yeah.
we we do this thing called truths, right? Like it's like truth or dare, but
Yeah.
truth, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just
True. Yeah.
truths.
Yeah.
So I like made a group chat on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger, and I
Mhm.
added everybody. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, my truth question. Everybody has to send like a picture of who they kissed, who they kissed on, who's the last person they kissed. And so
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
started sending things, and they were like, okay, well, Sione, who you had to play too, and I was like, I asked the question, I don't have to. Um, but after that, the guys were like, okay, so we're gonna go get food. And I was like, okay, peace. You know, I hang out with the girls. They're like, Shawnee, come, come. And I was like, okay. So I went with them. And then like uh there's like three of the guys in the back. My brother's driving, and they're like, Sione, we don't care how we feel about you right now is how we're gonna feel about you later, right? And I was like, okay. And then he was like, we don't, you know, we were not going to change. We're still going to love you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is set up. Like, I felt like
Yeah.
so set up. I'm like, oh no, they're going to ask me. And then they're like, who was the last person you kissed? Or I have to tell you another story.
Yeah.
Okay. I went to New York one day and I was performing somewhere.
Yeah.
And I invited um, one of the guys to come. Well, actually, he was meeting up with somebody over there. So
Mhm.
I was like, oh, okay, well, this is like, I'm going to be here. We all hung out, but like, I invited this guy I was like talking to, like, who lived in New York.
Mhm.
And I thought we was like being cool about everything, you know, but I guess he caught on, or, you know, someone
Yeah.
caught on. Anyways, so I guess he brought up that person and he was like, um, was blah 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 this person, and I started crying. Like I'm like, why I gotta do this in front of my brother? Like he's right here. And then like we already got like we got McDonald's, and I remember I was just like I was about to start, like I just remembered the McChicken and I was about to eat it because I was like trying, like so like nervous about it.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I just said
Yeah.
yes. I pretty much confirmed it, and they all just
Yeah.
like, yeah, we knew it, we knew it. Like you know, like they were
Yeah.
actually celebrating, and that was
Yeah.
like the most confident I've ever felt in like my like being accepted for
Yeah.
like who I am, because they were Polynesian, they're Mormon, you know, they're great people, and they like showed me nothing but love. And then my brother, he's like patting me, and then like he like my brother gave me a hug afterwards. He's like, you know what, bro, it's okay, it's okay. And then after
Yeah.
that I was just like, Phew. But then telling my parents,
Oof, that's a whole nother round, whole
yeah,
nother
yeah,
story.
yeah. My parents, they're Tongan and Mormon, so they have they're set in their ways.
Yeah.
Um,
But
I
just before you go that story, I want to I'm just interested. Like, is your dad like hardcore traditional Tongan? Like, I was interested in what kind of level of Tongan they are.
I would say my dad is a very soft spoken to, I mean, he's soft spoken. He's
Yeah.
very funny. Uh, I want to say to like people who aren't his family. That's like he's a little bit more talkative to like his our family.
Yeah.
Um, he's but like at home, he'll discipline if he has to.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't say he's like a hard Tongan dad. Like
Got you.
I would say, we moved to Florida. We're not like influenced a lot by like Tongan things, or well, I mean, my parents they already were, but yeah, I felt like they were a little bit more open minded. But
Got you.
later, because when I first told them, well, I I have depression.
Yeah.
And I was super depressed that one night, and I was like crying, and I was just like, this was in 2019, last year. So I just came out to them after I turned 27.
Oh, this is
And
recent. This is recent. Oh, wow.
recent, right? And I never thought that I needed to tell them. Like I didn't think
Yeah.
there was a point to tell them. I'm like, I'm happy with
Yeah.
them not knowing. But one night I was just super sad, and I was just crying. Like I was crying for no reason. And I was just like, I'm gonna go tell that, you know.
Yeah.
I told him I smoked weed, and and he was because I moved to Colorado. And I was like, Daddy, I smoked a lot of weed, blah blah blah. He goes, you know what, son? That's like you're an adult, blah blah blah. That's what he was pretty much telling me. So after that, I felt like, oh, maybe it'll be the same reaction. I
Yeah.
was like, and I was crying. He goes, what's wrong? He comes up, he's like, let's go to the living room, thinking something. And I was like, I'm gay. And then he was like, he was quiet.
Yeah.
He was quiet. And he's like, go get your mom. So I woke up my mom, and I was like, yeah, Mom, I'm gay. And
Yeah.
they were just quiet.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? And I was like, y'all didn't know? I'm like,
Yeah.
y'all really didn't know?
No, yeah,
But
I wanted to ask you, like, you don't do the whole time, like, they never recognize anything.
they had to have known.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, every parent must see that in their kid, right? Like,
and like later on, I just like I wasn't even hiding it. So like I was like, they had to have like had some kind of inkling.
Yeah, exactly.
But my mom, she was like, I still love you. I will pray for you. And after that, we didn't really like talk about it.
Gotcha.
But I locked myself in my room for like a few days. 27 years old, locking myself in my room, like super sad. I went to the beach the next day, but when I came home, I was just trying to avoid.
Yeah.
After like maybe 2 days of not talking, not their fault. It wasn't their fault. I was locking myself in, like I didn't want to see anybody. I was just I only came out to like grab food and then go back in.
Yeah.
But my dad, he like, you want to eat, just to start talking somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to say like after that, my relationship with my parents, I felt like have been better and better. I felt like I wasn't hiding anything anymore, and I felt like they knew everything that I wanted to tell them about myself.
Gotcha.
So after that, 2020, like it was like I lost my dad, but like it was the best year that I felt like the relationship I had with my dad and my mom. So but
yeah, man, like thanks for sharing that, because like you know, I feel like that they're definitely, I know I have friends, you know, I have family members and friends that I saw go through that, like, you know, as cousins, like we already knew, but we just let them like come out on their own time.
I'm gonna just like hold on real quick. I'm sorry, I just gotta let me just get myself together.
It's okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just want to say thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it, and I know that takes a lot of courage to share that. But I feel like that's something that's powerful. Definitely, a lot of people to hear, especially like you know, Polynesians that are like that. Like, because I have cousins that I grew up with, and then like, you know, as kids, like we just knew, okay, I knew it, but we didn't want to say anything. We wanted them to come out themselves. But it's always good to see that they that once they came out, like the happiness and joy they felt, or like the burden they had was like lifted and from them. And also just for everybody that's listening out there, like, you know, whatever you want to share to your parents. I know as Tongan kids, it's hard to and I know my own personal experience, but whatever we want to share to our parents, I know sometimes it's hard for us to share to our parents that because we always think that their reaction is always going to be like the worst case scenario,
right? Yeah.
As depending on how tough your parents are. I remember for me, like, I always felt like if I said something to my parents, like I always felt like that the reaction was always going to be like they're gonna discipline me or die.
Right. Yeah, something bad.
but after interviewing so many Polynesians on my podcast and just listening to their story and hearing them, like, you know, finally speaking up to their parents and telling them like how they really feel or whatever, you know, whatever they want to share about their life, it's always been like based on everybody's story, it's always been a positive reaction.
Right.
At first there will be that moment of like shock or like or silence where the parents might need time to process, or they might say they might be frustrated at you. But then when the dust settles and everything starts to settle down, they'll just, okay, it is what it is. You know, I love you. You're still my son.
Right.
And that's something I want to push. I want to encourage a lot of anyone that's listening to watching this. Like, hey, if you have something to share to your parents that you feel like that's holding you back from being yourself, or from finding joy in your own life, or whatever you want to do, whatever that is, you know, don't be afraid to share, because like, I mean, I'm not saying their reaction is always going to be the same, but you'd be surprised that they're going to react in a positive way. And
I feel like that's a lot of like how we all want our parents to react is. I mean, of course, that's what anybody wants, how their parents want to react, but and then so I just wanted to put out there. So but ever since you shared it, you know, ever since you told them, like, you know, you just feel like it feels good. Huh? It feels good to just, it's out in the open. You know, I felt like it feels good now. It didn't feel good at that. Like, I felt like maybe I shouldn't have done it at that time, but you know, in the long run, I'm glad I did it. And then like a year later, I came out on social media, but it's not like I needed to, you know. It's not like people were like wondering, you know. But I decided just to like, you know, come out and say it, because I've never like said it before
in public. So
that was pretty much the only reason why I said it, but it's not like I need to, you know.